Hello everyone, this is our video 2 of the Spark series. In this video, we are going to cover two things. First, I'm going to show how you can download Spark on your local machine and how you can get started running the Spark examples and other things. And second thing we will cover is the Spark basic architecture. We won't, in the initial part only, we won't go deep dive into it, but the initial architecture will give you an idea on how Spark works. And with more and more live examples, we will understand more and more. So let's first see how we can run the Spark on your local machine. So this is the official site of Spark, spark.apache.org. Here in the downloads page, you can choose the version of the Spark which you want to download. And these are all the stable ones. And here you can also choose the Hadoop version which you want to download along with Spark. Now you can run the Spark alone as well without Hadoop. But if you want to choose run the Spark along with Hadoop, you will have to choose the version of Hadoop which is compatible with your Spark version. But currently, we are just going to work with Spark only. So just choose the version and download the TZZ file, which is the zipped file. Once you have downloaded it in, we will are going to unzip it and then we are going to uh, start the Spark in your local machine. So once you download it, you can, in my Windows machine, I'm going to start a command prompt and I'm just going to go to that zip file path. Here is that the file is present. You can just use tar space xf command to unzip that file. The command will look like this. Once you have unzipped it, which I've already done, you can just go to that extracted folder, which is this one for me. Now here, if you can start Spark using Python, Scala, depending on which language you want to interact with. We are going to go ahead with Python here because many of the examples I will put are going to be in Python only. If you want to run Spark with Python, you will have to install Python separately in your machine. Uh, Use some version of Python 3 uh, and install it. After you have done the installation, then only Spark will work for you. And here, just go to the bin folder and run PySpark. Now, but it will take a minute and it will just start the Spark session for you. What is Spark session? I'm not going to tell you right now. I will tell it by the mid of the video, end of the video. But it is just giving you a capability to run Spark commands. So this is the Spark session available to you. So I will just run one of the commands to show you that it's working here. Though you may not have idea on Spark yet, which we will cover in the next video. But I'm just going to show you that there is something called data frames in Spark, and it is working here. So we have that show will compute the DF. We are just computing, creating a data frame with 10 number, digit 1 to 10, and just will just show it, do the computation. So here is Spark. We submitted a Spark job like that for a data frame, and Spark has computed the values for us. This is how Spark does the work, and this was just a small example, but it shows us that our Spark session is working correctly. Okay. Now, I would say this is one of the ways to start the Spark. But if you are in the very initial stages where you're just learning about Spark, and you should know that Spark is a computer engine which was developed by Databricks initially. So this is one of the in the Databricks GitHub repo. This is Spark the Definitive Guide. It's a repo which you can use. Here in this, they are also mentioning the one of their book. Now this is a very good book, and many of the references or examples I'm sharing here, they are definitely somehow related or very much related to this book. And I also use it for reference with many purposes. If you want to be mastering Spark, I would suggest reading this book entirely. And if not entirely, at least cover the starting chapter. And here in this repo, there in the code and data folder, there are multiple notebooks, Python notebooks, where there are multiple examples of Spark, which you can use to see how Spark is working and definitely there are so many notebooks for the reference. Now, if there are notebooks for the reference, the Databricks is also giving a community edition, free community edition, where you can run these notebooks and see how the Spark is working. So you can sign up for that account here by going here and try Databricks free for 14 days on your choice of AWS account. You can just sign up here, and for 14 days you can just import these notebooks which are present in these code repos, and you can play around with Spark here. So this is a very good playground, and I will suggest you trying it for once at least. And this is definitely one of the ways to learn, and other way is definitely running the Spark in the local. But always make sure of one thing, that when you're running the Spark on local, your machine resources are getting used. So never run a Spark job which your machine can't handle. And if your machine can't handle, then you will have to use some other resource to run your Spark job. Okay. So in the initial phase, we are going to be using or running small Spark job, which our machine can handle. And later we will be handling or when we are going to go with the bigger example, we are going to use the either the cloud or some other resources. Okay. Now this is all about Spark, or how you're going to install it on local machine, and how you can test it out and with Python. Now the other part I want to show you is while we will see what are data frames, structured APIs and unstructured APIs in Spark, what I want to show more is what is the basic architecture here. How is Spark even working? So let's see that part. So let me create a quick whiteboard. So what I'm trying to say is so let's say this is our Spark ecosystem, okay? And here we know that there are multiple applications, Spark applications, jobs, slash applications, which are being submitted into this ecosystem of Spark, and it has to execute these applications or jobs. Now, when these are getting submitted, we saw there was something called a Spark session, which got created on a local machine. A Spark session is nothing but a driver process. Uh, and so let's go ahead a little bit above. In our Spark ecosystem, there is something called as driver. Okay, it's a process. Okay, nothing else. And there's something called as executors. Okay, there are multiple ones of this. Let's zoom that part. Now, when a job is getting submitted, it is going to interact with the ecosystem using the driver process. Okay, which we are calling Spark session actually. Now, Spark session is nothing but a driver process which is going to maintain all the information about this job. It is going to handle all any of the user inputs. If a user is putting any inputs into this, it is going to handle all that. And once it has all the information of the application which it has to run, it will submit a schedule that job to executors. Now these executors are nothing but workers, okay? Simply workers, nothing else. So what they are going to do is they are going to just whatever the application or job driver has submitted, they will just run it. They after running, whether it succeeded or failed, they will just uh, um, give the status back to the driver, and now driver will handle the stuff. So this is how a Spark ecosystem looks like. And definitely while driver and executor are doing their job, you can see that in this Spark ecosystem, when multiple jobs and applications are coming, you need some manager, cluster manager, which can handle the allocation of resources. Okay, because it's you are going to use multiple machines in parallel to do the computation. So, Mark, sorry, Jan, I would not say Mark, Yar, Mesos. These are cluster manager. Even Spark standalone cluster manager is something which you can use. But Yarn and Meso, these are the cluster managers which can handle all the Spark system and allocate the resources. But don't focus on this part yet. It is managing the resources. Focus on this part where in the Spark ecosystem there are drivers, there are executors, which are actual processes running in the ecosystem and doing the job. So now you're wondering that in our local machine, how this is even working. Then in that case, let me remind you, driver and executor are processes, not external nodes or something. Even in a single machine, all these one driver, even these 2 to 3 executors, they can all be running as separate threads in a single machine, which is like even a local host, right? And this is all possible. This is what we are going to do in our examples as well initially. So this is not at all a problem for the Spark. But definitely you can't handle heavy jobs in a local host. So let's just iterate once more. What are the responsibility of a driver and executor, and always keep them in mind. So let's go to the driver one. Driver is maintain all relevant information about application which are being submitted, user input, any other information of the application. Then it is schedule the work to execute it depending on application requirements. Okay, it knows the application how much work it is needed and the resources need and schedule the work to executors accordingly. And executor again is a process, but it's like a worker where it will execute the code given to it and send back relevant info whether the job, the code which it was given, whether it passed, failed, whatever information, send it back to driver. Okay, this is how the process goes. This is the basic architecture. Now, this is the basic architecture, but still we don't know how Spark is doing internally jobs, right? How Spark is even working. If I'm submitting some SQL or if I'm interacting with some database where I'm loading data or I'm dumping the data, how it is even doing the things, right? So for that, in our next video, first we will discuss how Spark interacts with the code in general, what are transformations, actions, and in the after that we will deep dive even more architecture with more logical examples so that it will all become clear to you. At a high level, I shared it because I wanted to make sure that you understand that in a Spark system there is something called a driver, there is something called the executor. The Spark session which we are interacting with in our localhost is driver process only. Okay, so this is what I wanted to cover it. One of the questions I have begun to ask many times is that what is exactly the effect or benefits of data engineering in general? We understand front-end development, back-end development. With data engineering, what we get is that if more and more companies now handle big data and more data, and I'm not even talking about the companies which rely on data. I'm talking about general e-commerce or any of the companies which are making the recommended systems or anything. They need data, they need machines or compute to process that data. And if you see in these companies, the AWS cloud cost coming from data for data processing and management is coming even half of the total cloud cost which the full company or org takes. So this is how high the this how the data processing cost is going for these companies. So I would the as a data engineer, you can not only upskill yourself and help the company managing and scaling the data better. You are also saving the cost, the cloud cost, in a so huge manner that the other teams can't even think about it. So data engineering helps the companies in a big way, like any other engineering skill would have done. So definitely, if you want to deep dive into it with different and try to understand different aspects of data engineering. And Spark is definitely something you should read about. Okay, so I will end this now, and we in the next one we will see how Spark interacts with the code and what are the API libraries which you can use, and we will write some more Python data frames accordingly. Okay, thank you.